What is up, Internet? Welcome to the Crypto Junkie channel. We got a great live stream for you tonight. We have George Wentz back in the studio with us today for part two of energy. Right, we're talking about energy tonight. So I've got smaller amount of lights on. We're gonna give it a couple minutes. Let some people kind of pile in here. I know that some other shows were just finishing. It's really trippy watching myself. This is the first time I've done this because I'm usually on StreamYard. I'm watching myself because I thought it would be easier for the comments. Okay, let's shrink that. All right, so let me wake up here and get in tune. Energy, right? It's kind of funny because in a crypto space, you've got people that are maxis of all different coins, right? And the fundamental thing that we are constantly missing and constantly not really paying attention to is energy. It all runs off energy, right? The ability to be able to run your Bitcoin miner, your ASIC miner, to be able to transact it all in cryptocurrency, it requires power usage. It requires energy usage. And I just don't think people realize, well, they're starting to, how important this piece is. The situation in Canada, as unfortunate as that is really opening up a lot of people's eyes to how important this is, right? And so it's also opening people's eyes to just how important it is to look for alternative means of store value, right? Because if they can swoop in and lock down your bank account, if they can swoop in and the entire banking network was down today. Let me try and pull this up. I wasn't going to get into like charts and stuff, but I think this is really relevant. So let me at least show this. If you have been following the what's going on in Canada, then you're pretty up to speed. But let me grab this. I hope I got it in here. Maybe not. Maybe I just shared it on my Twitter. Okay, let me check Twitter real quick. Essentially, every major bank was down today, which is extremely weird, right? That's not supposed to happen in Canada. And Trudeau's not backing down with what they're doing. And so it makes for a very interesting situation and dynamic. Here it is right here. Let me just pull up and get, let me get this off the screen. All right, let me get me off the screen. Move him over here and let's get this shared up. I got George waiting in the green screen, so I'll bring him up in just a sec. All right, here it is right here. All right, so this is basically BMO. Here's RBC. Here is Scotia Bank. All reporting major outages in the last 24 hours, right? This is on stream now. Okay, so you guys can see that. So this is one of two things happening. Either this is at government's demand to shut down banking, or this is a bank run, and they're just not talking about it, or a combination of both. I don't know. But this is pretty important, right? And so we're talking about energy, we're talking about power. It's just kind of a shame to me to a degree that so many people are willing to like look the other way and not really want to have these deeper conversations about the energy grid, the power grid. But they kind of like ignore, or they're just hopefully optimistic about its effect on the cryptocurrency that they love and they cheerlead and they tell you that you should have more of, right? Like Bitcoin maxis, you see this a lot. How many of them are actually talking about energy and power? Now, unless they're trying to defend against, some sort of attack saying that it wastes a bunch of energy, outside of that, you really don't hear that, right? So anyways, I'm hoping that we have that conversation with George. I'm really excited that he's back on with us. So let's get rid of this and let me bring up George. George, what's up, man? With us.
How are you doing?
Excellent. How you going? Your volume's a little
marvelous. Really good to see you, man.
Yeah, same. Okay, so I had
a second. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
How is the audio? Do you have any feedback coming through?
Yeah, it's just a little bit low.
It's a bit
low.
The
audio is a bit low. Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
That's great.
Are you able to turn it up on your side, or let's see here?
Yeah, I think most people can just turn up their headphones, but maybe I'll blow them out, so maybe I tone down a little bit.
Now, let me try this. I'll turn it up on our side here.
Is that better, Jay?
Yeah, that's it right there.
Okay, perfect. We'll lock it down right there.
All right, beautiful. All right, well, thank you again for jumping in and and doing a part 2 with me, like I kind of started off talking, is, it's just so wild to me that we're not having such an important conversation, which is a conversation about energy and power, when it really is the thing that is the building block and foundation of whichever cryptocurrency you love or support or you're maxi for. And with the events that are happening now and quickly unfolding, it's like, yikes, big eye opener, right?
Yeah. And, there's a lot of things happening simultaneously, it seems to me, throughout the world. We have the Trudeau sort of declaration of dictatorship that has taken place, and the suspension of so many rights in a country that we think is a rule of law country. And when we see that happen in a modern, like we see that happen in Venezuela, and that did happen throughout the course of Chavez's reign and now Maduro's, and we see that happen in Cuba, and we see it happen in other places. But when we see it happen in our neighbor to the north, I think it really is cause for alarm. We don't think that Canada is going to take these kinds of actions. And what we've seen there is we've seen that these truckers and these people that love freedom and feel that they are being oppressed, are pushing back. And, Thomas Jefferson said that the final check in the checks and balances of the American system is the American citizen, and the American citizens will push back at the time to prevent overreach by a central government and a centralized power. So I think we're seeing that happen in the United States as well. And so, but how does that relate to crypto, I guess, is where we want to go. And if the more that we centralize control and the more that we centralize power, and by that, I don't mean energy power, I mean political power. The more we centralize political power, the easier it is for that political power that has all of that very small but powerful element to just shut things off. And we have, at this point in time, a centralized grid throughout the entire nation that could be shut off. They could power down if they wanted to. If they wanted to eliminate, like a trucker's convoy going across the country. These types of things, the more they impact us, they impact absolutely everything. And that's why, our program is we want to decentralize the capital structure behind energy by putting it out to the people through tokenized equity that we're offering online. So we've decentralized and democratized the capital structure. It's not concentrated on Wall Street with us like it is with every other energy company. So we've bypassed that central choke point and put it out to the people. But we also want to decentralize the grid so that people have more control over their own destiny and they control their own power, which is where we really get to true freedom. And that's what we're focused on. Well, in the meantime, we're focused on rolling out these these super more efficient and more secure data centers, which I think the crypto industry should really applaud. So there's a lot of things that we do that are impacting that,
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's kind of funny. Is like, Web3, most people, if they even know what that's supposed to mean, which I'm not even sure I really do, but Web3 and how it's sold is that you have more control over like your domain. You have more control over your data, more control over how you interact with a company or a business, right? I guess that's like the simple version of it. And so there's like more decentralization to how you interact and operate within the grid, right? But that's exactly what you're talking about. But I haven't seen you on any of their streams. I haven't seen you like talking with any of these people, then bringing it on AMAs. It's just kind of wild to me, like within the crypto space, that we're talking about this whole conversation about Web3 and all the big players are involved. IBM's involved, Microsoft's involved, Facebook, everybody, you name it. All the guys that have been selling your data for years and years and years, they're all of a sudden now an autonomous, figurehead and pillar in the Web3 space. But then there's guys and initiatives like MAD that actually want that and have a means to get there. And you guys get like no airtime on those channels. Isn't that funny?
Well, but we're a threat to those
yes,
to that power
that's
structure,
what I mean.
Because they're supported by the ruling elite, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't think that the intelligence communities control Google and Facebook and, Silicon Valley writ large, then you really need to read a book called Surveillance Valley. And it goes into the history of the Silicon Valley, much of which I lived through because it started when I was in the Reagan administration, where they took certain things and they shifted it from total government control over to privatization, you know.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
but read that book, Surveillance Valley, and you'll see the
Okay.
entire history. It's a real eye opener. The guy did a great job on that book, and you'll see that this is all pretty much controlled. So we can be cut off on the internet. We can be cut off until we
Yes.
build an alternative structure. We're always at risk, So
Yeah.
we're focused on decentralization of the grid, democratization of the capital supporting our efforts so that it cannot be stamped out. I'm a big fan of decentralization, more individual control, greater individual responsibility, greater individual liberty, self-sufficiency. These are the
Yes.
things that drive me, and they drive Mad. And we
Yeah.
think that throughout the world, that's what's needed. And when you see this fantastic rise of basically people who say, we are free, we are independent, and you cannot beat us down. And they just take their trucks and they ride them into Ottawa. I mean,
Yes.
I got to tell you, man, I'm cheering, right?
I
It's
am
like
too.
that scene from Braveheart, you know?
Yeah.
It's just an incredibly positive thing to see. And I have been informed that there's going to be a similar convoy starting in California and riding to Washington, D.C. And we'll
That'd be
just have to
something.
see how tyrannical the federal government believes it can get
Yeah.
with the American people. And I think
Yeah.
they're going to be surprised. I think the American people are going to be surprised by the
Both
reaction
sides.
because it's going to
Yeah.
wake them up. My
Yeah.
gosh, they're going to
Yeah.
do that here in the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Yeah.
And I think we're at a tipping point in all this federal overreach through what
Hmm.
I call medical tyranny. And
Yeah.
I don't want to get too political here, but I mean,
Yeah.
I just do not believe that unelected bureaucrats that I never voted for and I can't vote out of office because they're administrative in the
Hmm.
CDC can tell the entire country that every time they get on an airplane, they have to wear a mask. That is such
Hmm.
a massive intrusion that I think it has to be decided more democratically than some, third level MD at the CDC issuing a nationwide order that I have to do this. I don't believe
Yeah.
they have the power to do that. I don't think we ever gave them the power to do that. The power rests with the citizens, you know?
True. True. Yeah, I agree. And it's like you hit on a lot of key points, man. It's like touching back on what you said in the beginning, when you see hyperinflation hitting in Venezuela, when you see bare shelves, when you see them in line for half a day to get gas and petrol, or that being used as a currency over there, suitcases full of money being walked down the street because it means nothing anymore. You just like, oh well, that kind of sucks for them, but hey, all right, you want to go get Starbucks? Yeah, let's go. But when you see it hit in Canada, you notice the reaction now has been completely different, which has been interesting to watch. And so if it does happen in the US, what I like about that is like, so many of us have lost our self-sufficiency. It's like, talk to somebody about living off grid and 9 out of 10 people have no clue what you're really talking about. And so I think that I wouldn't say, maybe go that far, but somewhere in the middle of not knowing anything of what's going on and trusting the WHO and the CDC and thinking that they're looking out for you and the government has your best interest at heart. And that somewhere in between that is where we need to get back to. Like our median of where we're at in terms of self-sufficiency is so low now in the US. Everyone's just too fat and comfortable. And I mean fat, like not physically, even though that's an issue too, but just comfortable. And
Yeah.
yeah, I like what Web3 represents. I like, even though I don't think anything in Web3 except probably 1 or 2 projects are actually what is on the sticker, like what's on the label. Mad is more Web3 than most of these companies. But that's why I've gotten so crazy behind what you guys are doing, is because like the foundation and infrastructure is key. So we kind of got off on a tangent. Let's take a big step back. I want to hear about updates. I know you've been on a lot of other channels, and you guys have been talking quite a bit about this. But for everybody that's new, you guys had a big update where you're talking about how you're going to launch on Pulse Chain. So let's cover that. And then I want to circle back, and I want to talk about energy and how that's changed, because you got to see the Reagan era, but you've been around this since the 80s. So I want to talk about that and how energy's changed, power's changed, and just the power structure. So let's start though all the way back at the news with what you guys are doing with Pulse. Fill us in, please.
Well, many of the MAD community, when we started, issuing, well, we haven't issued yet, but what we do is when we close an offering, like we've got a CF offering that closes on February 27th. I call that our For the People offering, right? Because the only reason we did it was to make it a really low threshold, $500, for people to get in and become owners of MAD. Pardon me. And so we set that up so that the average person, it's a retail offering, we could offer that out. Now, when that closes on February 27th, and I encourage people to look at that now, because it does close on February 27th, and there won't be another one like that with a $500 minimum, right?
What will be the minimum entry at that point?
Post that, or the next time we do a retail offering, it will be what we call a Series A, which is a bigger offering, and the minimum investment there will be $2,000.
Okay.
So today you can go on, our website, and you can click the invest button, and you can get through, and you can invest and become an owner of MAD for $500. Now that's the minimum. You can invest whatever you want in that offering. But but it does end by regulatory structure. It's not our decision. This is the way all these CF things are run by the SEC. It ends on February 27th. So folks, that we call that the For the People offering, because I don't know anybody that couldn't scrape together. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, and if there are, I feel sorry
Borrow,
for them.
cheat,
But
steal $500.
$500, to try to help change the world and get a piece of this action that is going to be, we are already under contract with so many data centers across the world that we will be the largest provider of clean energy globally in about 5 years. So, I compare it, and I'm not making any guarantees or promises if the SEC is listening, but I compare it to like being at the beginning of Microsoft, and you could have gotten in for $500. I mean, I really do encourage people to look at this, and that's why we're doing it. But to get back to the token, the equity token, the way that we do it is when the offering closes, then we mint and we print, right? And we issue out the token, and that token represents your ownership in MAD. And so that token, our MAD community, as we discuss this with them, and I love the stuff we get on our Telegram chat and all these things. We get really creative people there.
I bet.
Wonderful folks. Yeah, it's really cool. And it's growing every day. I love to see it. And so they're going, man, isn't there a better way to do this than on Ethereum? The gas fees are so high. It's not as efficient. So, we're hexagons ourselves. We know what Richard Hart is doing, and we're looking at the Pulse chain, and we decided that since it should be more efficient and cheaper and better for our community, we decided that we would do that, and we would use his chain, Pulse chain, instead of Ethereum. So when that forks out and when that happens, we're going to be on it. And I thought that was a big announcement. So we're excited about it because I think everyone will benefit. And plus, I think a company such as ours, which is already in business, operating, has contracts, is deploying clean energy, right at this point in time, jumping on that chain, it gives a certain validation to the Pulse chain, Yeah. So I think they benefit, we benefit, everyone benefits. That's the way communities work, Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And refining ideas, right? Like Ethereum is a decent idea, but it's just, like you said, it's very expensive to transact. And why wouldn't we go on this brand new chain that is going to be better, at least for the first couple of years? Who knows how full it'll get, how expensive it'll get. It might run into the same problems as the ETH. That's fine for down the road. But to start with, to launch on that and allow people to, maybe that are hiding wallets or hiding money to come over and support MAD is going to be good. You know, because not
Yeah.
everyone, let's be honest, not everyone wants to, cash out a $10,000 or $50,000 with how hard that is now to then support a project like MAD. There
Right.
are issues like that where it becomes difficult because of oh my God, the paperwork and the legal red tape to just move money around to actually donate from a retail standpoint to anybody or anything, from a GoFundMe to
Right.
Mad Energy Project.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
So
And
then I'll
this
open
is,
up
just
that.
to be clear, this is an investment. You become an owner. You get ownership. It's not a donation. I know some people say they'll come on to the Telegram chat room and they say, "I'm so pleased I donated to MAD." Now I understand why they think it that way, because we're changing the world, and our mission is for the betterment of humanity and the freedom of humanity, right? And so I understand why they think they're donating, but the fact is that they get ownership interests in a company that is going to make a lot of money, and that's an important element to it, because the larger the MAD community gets, and the more wealth the MAD community has, the better things the MAD community can do. So this is not a nonprofit. This is for profit, and the people who are coming on board, my belief is that they're going to do very, very well, and that's what I want them to do, and I want to see that happen. I've been very fortunate in my life, and I want to see a greater group of the middle class benefit, and that's why we've done this CF. We didn't need to do it financially. We have other offerings that are filling up. We just want to have. I don't like the stratification of society. I don't think we should have Bill Gates with hundreds of billions of dollars and people struggling to put shoes on their kids and gas in their car. I think that stratification of society is terribly unhealthy. And I think crypto has helped reduce that. I know a lot of guys that are blue collar guys that got into crypto and now they're millionaires. I love that story. And so the CF offering that Matt is out there is trying to do that same kind of thing and allow people to get ahead and become, rebuild the middle class, not just of America, but of the world.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's like I came across and shared some data the other day that, it wasn't just the middle earners that lost. The actual lowest earners in the United States lost the most over the last 2 years, which is like, how could they possibly lose more if your social class is already low income earners, which is a nice way of saying poor. How could you lose the worst out of everybody? But so apparently, like the quality of life is just that much worse now for lower income earners over the last 2 years, which is ridiculous. But I mean, that's kind of the game.
Yeah, you talked about Venezuela, and can that happen here? I calculate and run calculations on what I would call the real inflation rate.
Yeah.
Because during the 80s, during the Clinton administration, they changed how that's all done.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yeah. I mean, they just took out little things, Jay, that don't matter, like energy and food. You know what I mean? Nobody uses gas or food or anything like that. We don't need that stuff, right? So they just took those out, right? So that, I mean, even that, fake inflation rate right now is 7.8%, right?
Yeah.
But we did a calculation the other day based on real inflation and what it really is. And we believe that in the past year, it's more like 78%. So we believe it's 10 times the number. Yeah. We'll go to the gas station. Once you put energy in there, I mean, it was $1.50. Now, I mean, I think I'm paying $3.50 or something, right, for a gallon of gas. Well, that's a massive inflation rate. And when you put that in over 12 months, it's huge. So food is going apart. I mean, I don't know where you live, but where I live, we do see empty shelves in the store. So there is the same kind of thing that people live through in Venezuela coming. Now, why is this important for crypto? It's important for crypto because if the inflation rate really is 78%, then my goodness, looking for some alternative storehouse of value is pretty important.
Yeah, that's a serious erosion of purchasing power just over 12 months.
Erosion. Right, exactly. I mean, if you're, we're in some cryptos and during that period of time where the erosion has taken place of the value of the US dollar, we've seen the opposite. It's like, a barrel of oil right now is hovering somewhere in the 80s to 90s, higher than it's been in a long, long time. Does that actually express the value of the oil? Or is it that the value of the US dollar has gone down, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is it the
Yeah.
oil or is it the value? Is it the fluctuation in
Right.
currency value? Is
Right.
the value of a barrel of oil more than it was? I'm not sure
Right.
about that, but I just know that whereas before it was $30 to get that barrel of oil, now it's 90 something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think that people need to see when we, the biggest centralization of power that ever took place was the Fed, right? And so once we did that, and once we gave control of our economy and our dollar and printing dollars and managing dollars to an unelected, unaccountable group of board of governors of what is really a private entity to control our currency, that was a fatal move for freedom. And
Yeah. It was.
what I love about crypto is that as people start to realize that this centralized government controlled entity really doesn't have a freaking clue, right?
No. No, they don't.
Then
They
what
don't.
you're going to see is you're going to see a more and more people saying, yeah, but look at this, man. I can get into some staking cryptos where if I stake, I know I'm going to get this amount of money. I know I'm going to get this appreciation over the period of time, And so all those people are smart. People look at things, people think. And
Yeah.
if they actually analyze the data of what is happening, they're going to find out that, the people that are running our currency actually are not good economists.
No,
They
they're
just
not.
don't
No, they
know.
genuinely aren't. Oh my God.
Right?
It's mind blowing. They're so stupid. But if you put them in a suit, you put a guy in a suit and you put him on TV enough times, then I'm telling you, man, like people believe it. People believe this stuff,
But it's changing. But they're not.
It is.
America's waking up. And more people are saying, yeah, man. So, to get back to MAD for just a second, look at the fantastic job of balancing the budget that our centralized government mechanisms have done.
Mm-hmm.
Just wonderful. We're only 30 trillion in debt right now, right? Gee, they've done a great job.
Yeah.
Wow. When Obama started his term, we had 9 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
So we just need to realize that now we have 30 trillion in debt. Okay. What does that mean? That means that we have devalued the dollar massively under that period of time. It also means that centralized government mechanisms just really don't work very well. So do we want them controlling? Why are we allowing them to control our currency when they do such a terrible job? Why are we going along? What is MAD pushing back on? Well, currency is essential to everything we do, but guess what else is essential to absolutely everything we do? It's power, right? Power underlies every single thing. You don't have crypto without it. You don't have your lights in your home without it. You actually have societal chaos without it. So we're going to let the same entity that has done such a great job balancing the budget. Gee whiz, you guys have done good. From 9 trillion to 30 trillion over the last couple of decades, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Are we going to let them control the something as essential as power?
Yeah.
No, we'd be idiots to do that. So MAD is designed to decentralize the capitalization of the power structure by going directly to the people, bypassing centralized chokeholds like Wall Street, putting it out to the main street, right?
Yeah.
Allowing it to be dispersed across the globe, which we have investors from almost every continent right now. It's really cool to see that grow. So it's a movement of the people, and the people are going to control the energy and the people. So the only way that you can decentralize the grid is to decentralize the capitalization of the structure that decentralizes the grid.
Yeah.
You can't do one without the other. That's why MAD is the way it is. People have trouble understanding, well, what is MAD? What's it doing? Why is it doing it? What we are is we're an energy company that goes out to the people and is owned by the people. And because it is decentralized in that aspect, it then can't be choked off when we go to decentralize the grid.
Yeah.
Freedom, baby.
I think like we've already tried the other way, right? Where, and don't get me wrong, like just like sometimes if you want to use the term, middlemen are needed or required, or some sort of assistance is required. Sometimes it's a balance of centralization and decentralization, but we've already had centralization of everything. And it doesn't work for some of these pieces. And it doesn't work when you have a lazy government with bloated budgets that does not want to actually provide the money and the funding into core infrastructure that's required. They haven't touched the infrastructure grid of America in over 40, 50 years.
Oh,
the
it is
shit's
so
so old, it's ridiculous.
It's a
Yeah.
horror story, man. It's a horror
Yeah.
story.
From
it
bridges
is
to power lines to everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why are we giving them that? Why are we giving them that power? When and
Right.
I think that's what makes Tesla so popular, is because it's idol syndrome, right? So it's like hero syndrome to a degree, because everyone thinks that I just got to get a Tesla and I'm a good person, and I'm contributing to a positive, climate, whatever, right? Especially if you live in California, that seems to be the model. Like you drive a Tesla and it makes everything else okay that you do. But all jokes aside, is that's what makes something like that so popular, is that clearly people are catching on, whether they're feeling the guilt of climate change or they're just looking around and saying like, hey man, maybe there's a better way to do this. But I just don't think that they have many options. And so Tesla's like one of the only options out there, which that's why we have to keep talking about MAD, is because MAD is like a way, it just makes more sense, right? To me anyways. The structure of it, what you guys have planned, I think a lot of it goes over people's heads because it is big. It's like, you guys are doing so much. And so I think a lot of times people, because it's like, if you dump too much on somebody, it's overwhelmed, right? But if you do little by little, like they'll shift and change, which is what the media does.
Yeah.
So little by little, they
Yeah.
give you a piece, and before you know it, you're a completely different person. And so, I think in that same way, that's why for some people it can be overwhelming to listen to what Matt is trying to do, because they're like, wow, that's way too big, right?
Well, let's talk about a specific example, and the way it works in the real world through MAD.
Sure.
We have, and this relates back to Tesla. All right. And I know I bang on billionaires all the time because I just think it's reprehensible that somebody should have $300 billion while people can't eat, I just think that disparity, moral. I mean, look, I've done well and I've always been able to feed my kids and my grandkids, and they've always had a roof over their head. They've had pretty much whatever they want. But believe me, I'm not even close to being a billionaire, right? And I've been able to do good things. I give money back to charities. I do all the things that a good person should do. And I'm not even close to a billionaire, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when you talk about 300 billion, I just think there's something wrong there. And we need to address that. But I digress. I apologize for that. What I wanted to go through was, I've talked with you about the wireless energy program before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically what we're doing is I can be more specific now, because next week we're going to make an announcement that is going to be huge. And we have been working with the inventors of that technology for some time now. And they've been going through sort of a change and some legal troubles and things of this nature that we have been working with them on and trying to help them on. And we go down to Texas next week and we meet with them at the tower and that has been built there, that I think I've shown you pictures of.
Yeah.
And that tower is functional, and that tower has been sitting there while this company is being reorganized. We're coming out of that now, and we are entering into a partnership with the inventors to roll that out. We're taking our video crew down. We're really hopeful that Foster and Kimberly Gamble will be able to come. We're not sure they're going to be there, but they're working with us. We're allied with them. And so we're just super excited about the fact that we'll be able to go through that whole tower, through the campus down there, show people exactly how it works. And that is going to take people from thinking that MAD is some futuristic thing to the fact that, no, we're actually doing this stuff. We're doing it right now.
Yeah.
You can get a picture of that tower up on the screen. If you Google Waxahachie Tower, right, and wireless, it'll probably come up, Waxahachie. So This is a pretty cool deal. I've been involved with this for 5 years, and now we're culminating in getting a solid business plan backed by really good people, tremendous expertise to actually take this Tesla's dream and achieve it. And we'll be able to show people on videos, you'll be able to see, and you'll be able to see that this is real. So how does that impact what we were talking about with Tesla? The trouble with the current model of electric vehicles is that everybody comes home from work and plugs them in at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, there's no way to there you go. That's the tower. That's it.
I did not Google whatever you just said. Whatever tower. I just Googled Tesla Tower because I could not spell that for the life of me.
Oh, Tesla Tower. Yeah.
Tesla Tower will work. So if you just search Tesla Tower, Texas, you'll find this.
Right. So while I have that up on the screen, this is so cool.
Sure.
You see the white part of the tower, and then the small part up top before it gets to the aluminum dome. The aluminum dome is 30 feet in diameter. That tower is just under 200 feet tall. The entire tower structure, there is no ferrous material in that entire tower structure. That is all made out of cast fiberglass pieces. Because what that is a giant coaxial cable sticking up into the sky with a dome that launches a low frequency wave. So I've been through that from top to bottom. I was there throughout the construction. It sits on a massive concrete base that is grounded into the earth, right? With rods going down. Yeah. Then as we, in the middle, there's coils that go up and up and up, and it comes out the top. Yeah. See, during the construction, isn't that cool? Yeah. I was there for that. Yeah. Nice. I get excited about this because this launches a wave that carries safely and efficiently commercial grade electricity that can then be received by receivers that we will be able in the future. Right now, I could put a receiver in the back of a pickup truck and run the pickup truck with that. If it was an electric pickup truck, I could run it all over the world without with a receiver in the back of the pickup truck. But you know how you remember the first cell phones? They were like bricks and everything. I had a bag phone right back in the 80s. I mean, they were huge, you know? I saw a really cool thing the other day. I saw a meme where it's a woman with gray hair holding this huge phone, you know, like this. And it said, Neil Young fans trying to figure out how to delete Spotify.
Yeah, I like that.
I love it. Anyway, go Joe, baby. Go Joe Rogan. Anyway, so right now, you know, as cell phones were large when they started and have been miniaturized over time down, this is like bigger than, you know, this is like bigger than a massive computer that took entire rooms in the old days, right? So miniaturization is something that we will get done, and we will be able to build a receiver into every single Tesla so that it will download real-time electricity, commercial grade electricity to drive it. What does that mean? That means that the massive part of the automobile that is filled with lithium batteries will not be there. You can put suitcases in there. What does it also mean? It means you're not carrying as much weight. So you could carry more people, or you could carry more luggage, or you could just be more efficient, because the lighter it is, the less mass you have to move. And batteries are extraordinarily weighty, right? You'll be able to drive that Tesla with unlimited range, because through our receiver built into the Tesla, we'll be able to take real-time delivery of electricity to run that electric motor or those electric motors all the time with unlimited range. Yeah. So how cool is that?
It's going to be absolutely incredible because, so first off, like,
there, right?
Yeah. The whole
the tower is built.
Yeah, this is what Edwin.
That was Weidencliff. You know, that was Tesla's tower, and this is the modern.
This is what
tower.
Edwin remembers. Like, I don't know about you guys, you know, watching his stream right now, but I remember researching this stuff when I first kind of started finding out about it, and you know, it just made me so giddy, like thinking of what was possible. But then you
Yeah.
like look in the real world. If you look at even movies in the 80s, right? They had all this
Right.
stuff timed in the 20th century, right? So like by 2020, they had movies about how we'd be on Mars and stuff. And just look at a lot of the old like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies in his heyday in the 80s, and they were all talking about by like 2020 we'd be on the moon, we'd be on Mars. And it's like it's 2022.
Right.
Like look around, we don't have shit. We're not doing any of that.
Well,
You know,
but it's not because we don't have the tech. It's
correct. It's been
because
suppressed.
there has been a
Yeah.
chokehold. This is why I want to emphasize one more time the importance of the decentralization and the democratization of the capital behind the program. Why is that tower, that Tesla tower, the original Tesla tower, why was it never, that dream was not achieved?
Yeah, I know, man.
That dream has been around since the turn of the last century, right?
Yeah.
What was it financed by? He went into a deal, Tesla went into a deal with JP Morgan.
Yeah.
JP Morgan put the money behind that to build the tower. After he built that thing and JP Morgan figured out that this could really work, guess what he also owned and had an investment in? Copper mines.
Yeah.
And so at that time, whereas today, high tension transmission lines are aluminum, at that time they were copper. In JP Morgan, I think he made a faulty economic analysis, but his analysis was that if I allow wireless to go forward, my copper mines will lose money. So what this shows you is the importance of the democratization of capital that MAD has structured its entire business model on. Why are we a movement of the people? Because we don't have any single investor that can chokehold us.
Yeah.
We also don't have any single point of attack by the federal government, because they're going to have to attack everybody, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have to take out people all over the globe, and there's no one jurisdiction that can do that. And so when we roll out our tower, there's not a chokehold like that. Now, I think JP Morgan was wrong, because I think he would have sold more copper in electric motors than he would have lost in electrical wires, right? Because copper is a key element to every electric motor ever made. So I think his analysis was incorrect, but the result is the same. Technology that has been here for well over 100 years, Jay, has been suppressed.
Yes, by one guy. So that's the key point here.
By one guy, by his elite, by one guy and the elite, right?
Yeah.
And so when you look at rolling out tech, you have to think, whose ox is this going to gore, right? Every time you disrupt the status quo, you're goring somebody's ox. Right now, we're goring, listen, Goldman Sachs, I know I'm under the radar and you don't know I'm here, but baby, I'm goring your ox. So, we are bypassing that chokehold by going directly to the people, through people with vision, people like yourself who are helping us get there, through a community of people that are spreading the word and the vision. That's why you are so critical to this effort, getting the message out, and we thank you for it.
Yeah, we all are.
Well, I know that you're leading the way, and we admire you and thank you for that. What I love about so here's what we can do. This tower and others like it can be built where there is geothermal power, right?
Yes.
Hot rocks.
Yeah.
We have an amazing formations of hot rocks in the United States of America, Wyoming, Idaho, throughout the West, throughout California. But guess what? God put the hot rocks where there ain't no people. And therefore, there's no transmission lines. So currently, this base power form of carbon-free production of electricity has only accounted for less than 1% of the overall electrical demand. So the puzzle that MAD is solving is, how do we account for the massive growth in electricity requirements as we electrify the entire economy and we go to electric transportation? And how do we do that without putting massive pollution into the atmosphere through the use of old-fashioned generation techniques.
Yeah.
And we know that solar comes and goes. We know that it goes down with the sun every single day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we account for the 24/7 requirement for electricity uninterrupted? And how do we account for the predicted 70% demand increase over the next several years, right? The only way, you've got to come up with base power that is non-carbon. Do we like nuclear? Personally, I don't care for nuclear. I think there's downsides to nuclear.
Yeah.
But I really like geothermal.
I do too.
The trouble with geothermal is transmission. And that picture on your screen is the solution to that problem. I can put geothermal plants where the most effective hot rock formations are. I can build that tower and I can transmit it to parts of Africa that have never seen electricity, that don't have clean water, that don't know how to treat their sewage. Well, they know how, they can't. They don't have the infrastructure to treat their sewage, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can increase the quality of life of people throughout the planet so dramatically with this one innovation. It changes absolutely everything. Imagine being able to fly in a quadricopter that is not weighed down by unnecessary battery storage and the weight of battery storage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that. So this is revolutionary. And what we did is we took all of our techs and we put them together in a suite that solves the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we did.
Yeah, here it is right here. I just pulled this up. I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember the stats, but over 940 million people do not have access to electricity globally. So it's like we haven't even solved the electricity issue. We could do clean water too, and you would see another horror stat that would make you your stomach flip. So it's like, there's people around the world who don't even know what the internet is.
Right. Well, they have no access.
You got it on your phone, and you got it on your phone.
Right. Yeah. And then you know what? I mean, I don't want to get up on a soapbox, but then we hear these people complain about how hard we have it and how terrible we have it. My gosh,
like I said, soft generation.
Go sit with the 900 million people that don't have any electricity at all and see how you like it, right? Yeah. You ain't getting that. You ain't getting that latte in the morning, boys,
No, well, and that's just it. Is I think a lot of people, because they don't have like a great struggle, like the every generation up until the last couple had like a war or some sort of like big adversity, an external force that was an adversity that they had to overcome together. Well, it felt like it was together anyways. Like the United States really came together around these world wars, regardless of the legitimacy of them and how we got involved, doesn't matter. And the fact is that for the most part, the country got behind this initiative and this effort. And if you look at the last couple of generations, there is no great struggle. There is no great anything that they had to collectively come together for, which is why now it's so easy for them to divide. For the family and the household to be driven and a stake driven between it is because like everyone thinks they've got it so tough, but nobody's really lived. Is the simplest way I can describe it. You know what I mean?
And that's why we have the American people and people throughout the world, Europe, other nations have been lulled to sleep, but the elites that want to control everything have taken the distractions like, man, I want to get to that next level in the video game, man. I got to get to that next level in the video game, right? Meanwhile, they're growing their power and we're asleep at the switch, Yeah. So we encourage people to wake up, take a look, get involved. I mean, how cool is it that you can be an owner of a company that is rolling out wireless energy across the world, marrying it with geothermal tech.
Yeah.
And we have increased the efficiency of geothermal tech exponentially, and we have come up with a way to minimize and reduce drastically any sort of environmental concerns about it, because we have created, in partnership with another group, a closed loop system that takes the increase in efficiency and effectiveness of drilling that we have seen in the past 12 years, and we have married it with geothermal. So we've taken what people were using in fracking, and I'm not a fracking fan, just for the record, but the drilling technology that has been developed during the fracking revolution, what we're doing is we're transferring it to geothermal. And we're using those incredible drilling techniques to create a subsurface closed loop system that creates a heat. We heat the water. It goes down into the hot rocks. It circulates back up through the system, goes to a heat exchanger, and the heat exchanger takes water on the surface, turns it into steam, puts it through a turbine. The turbine spins in circles. As it spins, it turns a generator. Then it goes into a condensation tank, turns back into liquid, gets back in and gets recirculated. So we have a closed loop beneath the surface of the earth that heats a closed loop above the surface of the earth. So we're never losing water. Water is such a precious resource. The original design of geothermal was very faulty because all it did was just shove water down into the earth through a pipe, put it through hot rocks. They put another pipe over, 100 feet next to it, and steam would come off. But you're constantly pumping millions of gallons of water into the subsurface of the earth. That not only damages the subsurface of the earth, it also wastes a tremendous amount of precious resources. So we have solved that problem by creating a closed loop subterranean and a closed loop up above. So we can put that system wherever the hot rocks are, regardless, because one of the things that usually happens is the hot rocks are in arid areas where there's no water. That's another problem with geothermal. So we had to address that. We put a tremendous amount of thought into this program, and we just love it. We are going to be able to create carbon-free base power, pollution-free base power, and then transmit it wirelessly to the whole world. What an amazing feat that is.
It's incredible. Yeah. Like from my standpoint, I don't even care if it works, if it works out, if it happens, if it takes off. Like just to be a part of it and say I was a part of it and be able to know, like, at the end of my lifespan that I got involved in things like this, that I actually, that to me mattered. Like, again, like it's a lot less to me whether or not it works out. I have full faith that you guys will figure out, how to make it all work. But I'm just saying, like, in general, I don't even really care about that. I just care about the fact that somehow magically this came my way and I was able to get involved. And if this does work out, this will completely change the very foundation for which we live in a good way. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you should probably be seeing on Oprah. You should probably be seeing this on Ellen. Wait, she canceled her show, so not Ellen, but across mainstream media. If they actually cared, if their job was to actually improve quality of life, it's not, by the way, big surprise. If that was the case, they'd be playing your stuff all day long. You guys would have raised trillions of dollars. The government would just, hey, here's wheelbarrows of money, and we would all be doing this. It's not.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that tells you.
The thing is, it goes back to whose ox are we goring with this stuff,
Yeah, exactly.
And that's called the establishment. And guess who controls, most of that stuff? I mean, the guy that could probably do the most good for us would be Joe Rogan, because it's interesting to watch. Here's this guy with this podcast, and he reaches 50 million people or something, like 11 million average listen to his podcast. That shows you that's another aspect of a sucking sound from legacy media over to, because if you compare Joe Rogan's numbers to CNN, Don Lemon,
that's not even close.
I mean, it's like nobody's. It's interesting. My daughter has a YouTube channel. She lives in Thailand, and she goes around and she does restaurants, and she, gives, it's just like her life, It's called Lily's Expat Life. And Lily goes around and does these things on YouTube, much like you do. And Lily has more viewers on her average thing than Don Lemon gets.
And what's crazy is they play CNN in airports all over the world to try and get viewership up. Nobody's watching them.
Right. No one's watching. You know why? Because we've all figured out they're full of it. It's the same thing I was talking about. Americans and people throughout the globe are waking up, and they're calling bullshit on all this stuff. They're just calling bullshit on it. And I love to see that, because, skepticism is something that is healthy. And when people are feeding us all the same stuff, all the
Yeah.
time, like beating a drum of the same thing. Guess what? There's something wrong with that. You
Yeah, I
need to
agree.
be a little contrarian. You need to
Mm.
question.
Yeah.
Americans are smart. We people,
Yeah.
we're smart. Look at the Canadians. Look at these truckers. I mean, those are guys that are just calling bullshit on the whole program. And
Yeah.
so when you do that, the problem is you do get attacked, you know? And
Oh, for
so,
sure. Yeah.
hey, that's our structure has no centralized chokehold, and that's why we're less easy to attack and put out of business, you know?
Yeah, and that's where Diamond Hands comes in. And this is perfect segue into something else I wanted to talk about. So, okay, let's take a step back, and we're going to kind of talk about cycles for a second. Is back when the great financial crisis happened, I was in high school. Yeah, I think I was in high school at the time, so I'm dating myself to a degree. But during that time when I saw this happening, I didn't really know what was going on, and I didn't really care. Was not involved in politics, didn't really look at markets, didn't care about stock prices, didn't care about any of this shit at all. And so when it happened, it just seemed like nothing. Like, oh, we'll have some bad times. In actuality, I think I was focused on, no, this is after high school, because I was focused on trying to get that free check Obama was sending out. Or whoever was president, I think it was him. It was like a $2,000 check or something. And I was like really focused on trying to get that. And because I'm just a kid at this point, I was just all free money, right? So I was like, oh, this is great, which is why it's so easy to push a socialist agenda to a kid, because all they're thinking about literally is free money. They think it's an excuse for free money. So, anyways, I say that because right now,
when I was a kid, I was thinking about a few other things, Jay. I just want to let you know that.
Yeah. Okay, so why is that significant? Is because I got to see that, and then I didn't really get to see anything that that looked similar until what did we have? We had a little shakeup in 2016. We had Asian markets in 2015, but nobody paid attention to that. And then we really didn't have anything again happen until the COVID crisis, right? And that's like I'd already been into markets now. I'm trading, I'm doing all these things within the cryptocurrency market. And so when this came around this time, and I actually started paying attention, it was so quick to catch. Like, in the newsletters, you can go back with everything I talk about in the Empire Alert emails that I send out. It's like I was calling bullshit after like 2-3 months, because at first I thought, okay, let's healthy skepticism, but let's set this off to the side and let's just, again, let's take this for what it's at, face value. I don't want to come off a little too hot and heavy and be wrong, so let's be a little more reserved here. But it was so quick to catch. And so my point with all of this was cycles, and why I really think that somebody like you who's experienced so much history is so extremely valuable to society is because you've gotten to see the cycle of a recession, of QE, of government tomfoolery occur so many times that you can smell it a mile away. And so for most people going through what they've just gone through, this is the first time that they've ever gotten to experience this sort of shakeup, depending on their age group. Right? So if this is the first time going through it, like I said, again, it's like depending on how old you are, you're looking at this as like free money. I don't have to work. You got crypto, so it's a little different this time around. But I'm saying like the cycle is starting to condense more and more. So we talk about this big change that is happening. There's really no choice. Like the timeline is sped up. Regardless of how time is speeding up, I don't know how, maybe it's CERN, maybe it's something else, but time is speeding up. So that means that the quantum leaps, for better or worse, are also speeding up. That means the speed at which people are like waking up is also going to be faster. But yeah, there's so much value in being able to live through all these different cycles like you have, like the knowledge and the I guess you could say compound effect of seeing it play out so many different ways, but with the same core ethos is insanely valuable. Like, I don't know if you want to talk about this or if you've thought about this in a way to condense it down. But
I mean, one thing is that I'm an odd duck and that I love history. I just read history all the time. I study history. I also am a student of economic history. But I've also lived through a good deal of history now that I'm in my mid-60s, and so I've seen it. I've seen things that other people haven't experienced because I'm old, right? And so far, like one of the reasons that I get asked to speak in certain settings is because I'm the last standing practicing lawyer that was in the Reagan administration that had to do, that did constitutional law analysis at the time during that period, And so despite the fact that I've always had a career in energy, I've always also had this career in constitutional law. And the breadth of scope of the history that I've lived through informs that. But it also, I'm also informed by my study of history. And so when I see current events, I always relate them to things through which I have lived or eras that I have studied intensely,
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell people that, in my opinion, we are living through an era right now that is somewhat reminiscent economically of the Carter administration.
Okay.
And this has to do with crypto because at that time there was no alternative. But we had something called stagflation, right?
Yeah.
We had a stagnant economy that was not growing. And at the same time, we had rampant inflation. One of the reasons that Clinton changed the way that they dealt with inflation and started lying to the American public about inflation. And we have been lied to for years, about the real inflation numbers. As I said, we just don't count food and energy. They don't matter. Who uses those? Who would want to know if they were going up in price? So,
Right.
What we have is we're entering a period where there is, I believe, inflation in the 70% annual range. And we also, at the same time, have an economy that is not really growing.
Yeah.
And so as an investor, how's a person who say, okay, it's my job to take care of my family. It's my job to take care of myself. How do I handle myself? This is why an investment like MAD, I think, is an attractive thing at this point in time, because you have the ability to get into an alternative that is going to be running on the basis of a demand that cannot go away, because energy does not go away. The requirement for energy simply does not go away. I'm not saying that it's recession proof. I'm not saying that it can't fail. I'm not saying any of those things, but it is a very true statement that every single person wakes up in the morning, except for the 900 million that we discussed that don't even have it, and they want to get coffee as they start in the morning, and that requires an electric coffee pot to go off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So power is something that we cannot do without, and we're in the power market. So if there's a place that I think people want to be during an era of stagflation, well, how about the place where we know there's a 70% increase in demand? How about the place we know where people have to have it and buy it every day? It seems to me that's a good place to be,
I agree.
So economically, power is a good place to be.
Yeah, I agree. From a long-term perspective, a long ball, and a midterm and even short-term.
Right. And how about a company that already has a contract with the most efficient data centers being rolled out, where the smallest data center is designed to require a gigawatt of electricity, 1,000 megawatts of electricity, the smallest one, right?
Yeah.
So by the time that is a contractual obligation that MAD is fulfilling at this point in time. We're going to do some videos on the data centers, right? We're going to start showing people, like you were able to show the tower today. We're going down to the data center that is rolling out the first data center. We're going to be showing you how we're powering that thing. We're going to be showing you the tubs where the CPUs are submersed in liquid, so that the cooling system is not so great, right? That's how we get 40% less electricity usage and 98% less water usage. So these advanced data centers are so cool, but the cool thing about it is, from a market risk standpoint, Matt already has that contract.
Yeah.
We don't have a market. We don't have a going to market risk. We've already taken care of that, So this is why we're so excited about what we're doing. And that's why I'm excited about people being able to get on board and take advantage of that.
Yeah, I agree. And there's I think what everyone's feeling right now across the board, if I were to make a fairly healthy assumption, is uncertainty. There's just a big push for war with Russia, which it appears that was all made up. I don't know. I kind of said that it was, along with a lot of other people were just kind of guessing that it was made up. And it would appear as though it kind of was. but coincidentally, at the same time, we've got things like the convoy happening in Canada. We've got that big news drop that the CIA was actually doing surveillance on United States citizens for a very long time without anyone's knowledge. So, I mean, it's kind of like, convenient time for that stuff to occur. So anyways, my point is that like your average American right now is like in a really bad place. And I know this because if you look at I'm still traveling right now, and I actually go and get to see the world. I get to see areas of Asia, the Middle East, etc. And when you see that, first off, you get a different perspective on life, because you start to realize that your problems, your hangups, your emotional traumas, all this shit of how you want everyone else to be in this world is not real. It's in your head. And it's hilarious in another country when you attempt to drop those frames and project that onto other people. They don't take too well to it, because they know that you're just making that up, and that's a you issue, not that. Yeah. So anyways, my point with all this is that, in emerging markets, they were hit 10 times, if not worse, 10x, if not more, from everything that's happened over the last couple of years. They're in a very bad place, like mentally, spiritually, emotionally, for those, especially that don't have a connection to God, they're in a really bad place. Americans, for the most part, if I were to just go down the middle, are in a really bad place. And you can tell based off of people's now new reactions to what kind of attire you've got on your face when you're going out in public, people avoiding other people, close contact, touching, feeling, all these things. That proves that they've got emotional hangups and they've got new traumas now and PTSD around just being a human being. So like there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now. And so I like the idea of using something like this to like kind of bring them back to center, is because it's like, okay, let's get behind something that like fundamentally everyone needs, next to food, next to water, next to fresh air. You've got energy, and that's not going to change. So I mean, to me, that really I think it helps people create a new level of comfort to get them back on track, because people love comfort regardless if it's good or not. Doesn't really matter. Is when you're feeling stressed and uncertain, you really just need to make a new plan or reformulate your existing plan, go back through it and make changes to it. And so adding a piece like this can help you actually feel better. And it might sound completely ridiculous, but having something that's like a safety net or a security net, something like power, can actually bring a lot of stability to your life, because it's just like having a routine. If you wake up at 6 a.m. every single day, it brings stability to your day, right? It brings stability to your life. Having a routine does bring that. And so it's the same thing with this. I think something like this it can help a lot of people right now. As weird as that might sound, because it is something that's stable, right? It's not going anywhere. Right. So anyway,
and you know what, Jay, I think you've hit on something really, really fundamental to humans, and that is that they do want comfort and they do want certainty. And when they get into more uncertain times and they see the institutions that they thought were protecting them, that they thought were on their side, when they come to realize that those institutions are really being controlled by a negative force, and maybe perhaps they're not on their side.
Yeah.
Maybe the FBI is behaving in an overtly political manner, in a way that it shouldn't, and as we see evidence of this, we go, wow, and we become uncertain. And as we become uncertain, we're looking for something to grab onto. And I've everyone knows I'm a lawyer. I've been around a long time, started in '83, and I've been managing law firms and lawyers for a long time. Lawyers are very, very difficult to manage. They always bitch and groan, and they're just awful people in general, and so dealing with them and keeping them focused and keeping them centered is something that is tough. What I find is when they start to feel uncertain and all these kinds of things, you know what I have done in the past? I've made them go down and hand out food at the shelter.
Yeah.
Because what people want is they actually want in their hearts to give back and do something good. And they want a mission and they want a purpose. And if they can see the suffering of others and then they can be of value to them, it sort of brings their own problems down.
Yes.
And this is what I use that a lot. I've had lawyers that wanted to quit, and I've said, okay, look, you're going down to the soup kitchen on Thanksgiving. Well, what about my family? Well, I don't care. Take them down there with you if you want to. But if you want to continue to work for me, You're handing out turkey on Thanksgiving morning, and you're going to see the people that are suffering. You're going to see the people, because I know what I pay you, and I know the car you drive, and I know the house you live on, and all I hear you doing is moaning and groaning about how awful you have it. So go down there and hand out turkey, right? And come back to me and tell me what you learned, right? Most of those people come back and they actually get involved in helping others. There is a fundamental, we do want certainty, we do want security, but you know what else we want? We want a purpose, and we want a mission. And one of the things that I think we're trying to do is provide people that they can be the solution to the problem. They can be a mission. They can have that mission. They don't have to sit around and say, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Guess what? Get involved. Now you have a mission. Go out and tell others that you are part of saving the planet, right? We're offering this mission out to people, you know, just like I sent my attorneys down to the soup kitchen. I would love to have all the people that are uncertain about what they're supposed to do seize on this and say, hey, man, I can get involved and solve the problem. I have a purpose. I have a mission. And you know what? When they do that, the friction in their lives and the tension and the uncertainty about what they're doing will lessen because they're helping others. They're actually serving a very fundamental, they're a member of a community. They're a member of a community that they can talk to. They're a member of a almost like a fellowship of people that are coming together that they're a part of. Anybody who's uncertain and worried and tension all the time, getting involved in a group like that is tremendously valuable. And having a mission of rolling out decentralized, clean, available, affordable energy to the planet, well, that's pretty cool. And what a mission to undertake, right? And we're making it available, making it approachable, and we're making it doable to them, to the world. That's why I'm so excited about this, you know, about what we're doing. I love it. Every morning, you know, I wake up every single morning and all I want to do is get going because I know what we're doing. I have a purpose. I have a mission. I am a person of faith. I will disclose that. So that helps me in my own personal journey tremendously. But, you know, I never worry because I know every day I'm driving to do the best I possibly can. And that is what keeps people focused and keeps people calm, you know, in a state of uncertain world. I've never seen the world more uncertain
than it is now.
Than it is now. Over the course of my time, I wasn't alive during World War II. I know that was a terrible time. I've studied it intensely.
Yeah.
If I had to compare another era that is somewhat like where we are now, I do believe with the centralization of power and all the things that are going on, that we are somewhat like the 30s. But I think economically we're more like the Clinton, the Carter era. So, but anyway, you know, if you get up and you drive and you know what you're all about and you know what you're doing, you don't have time to worry because you got to drive and make that go, you know? And being a member of a community that is making change, I think is helpful to people.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think whether you have a big piece of your life is faith, or a big piece of your life is just getting involved in something that you believe in, right? And that can tie into your faith. Like I believe that I am serving out now what I'm here to do, and fulfilling like my karma, or you know, whatever you want to call it. And so that's why it's so easy to get involved in this. Like it's fucking 1 a.m. for me. I woke up at midnight to get on this. Every time you see me stream on this channel, it's midnight my time. So I'm up in the middle of the night to do this. Not for any other reason but just to share like important messages and stuff that I feel is really, really important. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have that drive. And that's important for a lot of people right now. Is like they don't have that drive. They don't have that bigger thing. They don't have that thing that's bigger than themselves to get involved in. And something as simple as this can really play that role and fill that gap. Like, because all that is a gap, and we're going to fill it with something as humans. We're going to fill it with substance. We're going to fill it with, sex or whatever. We're going to fill it with something, food. You know, so you will have an outlet. You will find an outlet for this energy. This energy has to go somewhere. And so, yeah, I would just encourage, like, regardless of what it is, like you gotta get some self-awareness and figure out something that's gonna work for you to help fill that up, right? And I think something like this is really easy to get behind. doesn't take much selling, I don't think.
Well, good. Well, listen, I'm about out of time, my friend, if that's okay with you. I know.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm starting to get extremely tired. After about an hour, I don't know why, but like I could have caffeine right before this, but after about an hour, I just slowly start doing this.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, it has been great to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, thank you for coming on for a second time. So just for everybody, I know that we've fluctuated in viewers and a lot of people coming and going. Mad.energy is where you want to go by February 27th. If you want to get involved in this and actually get a stake in a company for $500, I'm sure you've done dumber shit with your money. You've invested in Ponzi schemes. You've gotten involved in NFTs and gotten burnt. You've spent this in transaction fees on ETH probably. So $500 is what can get you in the door if you like this whole little spiel and pitch that we've been talking about for the last hour and a half. And the last stream that we did a month ago and all the other information that we're putting out on Mad Energy is if you like this or just say, hey, what the heck? You got till the 27th. And then I think when they do it again, he said that it's going to just be more money to get involved. And so your choice, 100%. But yeah, like I said, if you like this, then you should probably check it out by the 27th, right?
Yeah, after the 27th, there will be another retail offering, but the threshold there will be $2,000 instead of $500. So if you want to come in at the lowest level, and you can come in for more in this offering, you can put as much as you
of course. Yeah.
But I mean,
somebody
what I wanted to do here was make a low threshold, a low barrier to entry so that people could get involved. And then over the course of time, they may put in $500 and forget about it. But over the course of time, when they start to see what that's going to do, I think they're going to be extremely pleased that they put that $500 out there, Yeah,
I agree. That's what I was looking for. I know that you guys put recent testimonials on the site. So people are coming in with millions of dollars, which is great. I think that the goal is that they'd rather have 500,000 people come in with $500 each than have one guy come in with whatever amount that is. Because then it just becomes harder to take this down, right? When it's crowdfunded against tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, it becomes harder because everyone's all over the world. How do we try and dictate over this thing that's not ours? It makes it really hard to do that.
It's like, how do you shut down blockchain, right? You can't because it's a decentralized autonomous organization. I mean, you've got computers all over the world conducting it. If you had an EMP in the United States, that chain still doesn't go down, So that's the theory.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So that's the pitch, guys, I guess, if you want to call it that, or do your research, dig into this stuff more. I mean, George has been on a ton of streams. They've got other people from the team that have been on other channels as well, just trying to share information about how power works, how energy works, what they're working on, what they're doing. I think it's a worthwhile initiative. And if you guys do too, then jump in. I think there's that makes it like 10 days left. I'm a day ahead of you guys, so 10 days.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, George, for jumping on with me.
Jay, thank you.
All right. Hopefully we'll be chatting again soon on another stream. Maybe after Pulse launches, we'll do another one, man. Then we can talk about that.
Anytime. You call me. Man, I love talking to you. I have a really good time. I think you're super smart. Enjoy your observations. Love talking to you. So anytime, I'm at your disposal.
Great. Thank you again. And thank you guys for tuning in. Share this video out. Comment below after it gets uploaded onto the channel. Spread it out. Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.